Hello students, welcome to the video class for the subject Generation, Transmission and Distribution. This is for 4th semester Diploma Electrical Engineering students. So today we will discuss about chapter 8. Under this chapter we will discuss about economic aspect, what is power factor, what are the effect of power factor, what are the effect of low power factor, how to improve the low power factor, and what are the different economic aspect parameters, different factors by using we can improve the we can improve the power system parameters. Okay, so let's continue from power factor. So power factor, what do you mean by power factor? This term you already studied in your basic electrical portion, in your electrical machine portion, okay, and in your network theory section. So let me remind you that the cosine of angle between voltage and current in an AC circuit is known as power factor. So this is the voltage term, this is the current term. Okay, this is the phasor representation. So this is the voltage phasor, this is the current phasor. So angle between this voltage and current is phi. So this phi, this phi, so cosine of this phi represents power factor. So if angle between V and I is phi, then this I, and here see the V vector is the reference vector and I makes angle phi with this V line. Okay, so if we find out or convert components of I, so here this is the cos component, that is I cos phi, and this is the sine component, that is I sine phi. So again, power factor formula you already studied in different topics, that power factor is equal to R by Z. This is another formula for power factor, and then another formula is power factor is equal to active power by apparent power. So everything you already studied in other subjects in the previous semesters or in recent semesters also. Just go through that section and just refresh about the knowledge of power factor. Okay, how you get the formula R by Z, how we get the formula active power by apparent power. So everything you already studied in the network theory part. So just go through that, you already reminded. Okay, so power factor is equal to active power by apparent power. So this is the another formula. So what are the disadvantages of low power factor? See, actually power factor value ranges from 0 to 1. Okay, so this 1 is the unity power factor. So below this unity power factor represent as low power factor. Okay, so when there is a low power factor in the system, in the power system, so what are the effects, what are the disadvantages of low power factor? Let's discuss about this. So when power factor is low, the load current is higher or vice versa. Okay, so power factor less than unity is your low power factor case. So when there is low power factor, what are the disadvantages? See, KVA rating of the equipment is inversely proportional to power factor. Okay, that means if power factor, low power factor means if power factor is low, then KVA rating should be higher. Okay, so the smaller the power factor, the larger is the KVA rating. Therefore at low power factor, the KVA rating of the equipment has to be made more, and making the equipment larger and expensive. Then the conductor will have to carry more current at low power factor. So if current power factor is low, then the current in any conductor is more. Okay, and this necessitates larger conductor size. Then the large copper loss, large current at low power factor causes more I square R loss, and this reduces the efficiency. Okay, that means when the power factor is low, then the current flow is large, and if the current is large, then I square R. So this also more losses. So due to more losses we can call it as large copper loss. Then poor voltage regulation. So see, the large current at low lagging power factor causes greater voltage drop. Okay, voltage drop is greater in alternator, transformer, transmission line and distributor. So this result in decreased voltage available at the supply end. This makes voltage regulation poor. Okay, already I told you voltage regulation formula, that is the voltage at no load minus voltage at full load divided by voltage at full load into 100. So from this you can calculate voltage regulation, or you can write Vs minus Vr divided by Vr into 100. This is the formula for voltage regulation. Okay, so due to low power factor there is poor voltage regulation and reduced handling capacity of system. So the lagging power factor reduces the handling capacity of all the element of the system. It is because the reactive component of current prevents the full utilization of installed capacity. So due to low power factor there is reduced handling capacity of system. Okay, so what are the causes of low power factor? Let's discuss about this. So most of the AC motor are of induction type. Okay, it may be single phase induction motor, it may be three phase induction motor, which have low lagging power factor. So these motors work at a power factor which is extremely small on light load and rises at full load. Okay, so this happens due to low power factor. Okay, so for light load the power factor is low and power factor is in between this range, and for full load the power factor rises from 0.8 to 0.9. And then arc lamp, electric discharge lamp, industrial heating furnaces operate at low lagging power factor. Then the load on the power system is varying, being high during morning and evening and low at the other times. So during low load period supply voltage is increased, which increases the magnetizing current. This result decreased power factor. So these are the causes of low power factor. So the next part is the how to improve power factor. So how we improve power factor, let's see. So there are some electrical parts or electrical equipment we are using in power system to improve the power factor. That means we are increasing the power factor towards unity. Okay, so the low power factor is mainly due to the fact that most of the power loads are inductive and therefore take lagging current. So in order to improve the power factor, some device taking leading power should be connected. Okay, so see, due to the lagging power factor, if the voltage reference line, we can say, or if I wait, see, if this is a current reference line, okay, so in case of lagging power factor, current lags voltage by an angle 90 degree. That means here the inductive voltage should be in this direction. Okay, voltage lead current. So in case of lagging current, so voltage is towards this. So in order to decrease this voltage level, in order to decrease this low power factor effect, we need to neutralize this. Okay, so to neutralize this we have to use capacitive load. Okay, so what happens, the capacitive load, what it does in case of capacitive load, okay, so current leads voltage. That means voltage is in this direction. So if voltage in this direction, then the net voltage is reduced, and according to this the overall voltage is also reduced and the power factor is improved. Okay, So this is the inductive voltage, this is the capacitive voltage. So this capacitive voltage neutralize this voltage level. Okay, it decreases the voltage level. So in order to improve the power factor, some device taking leading power should be connected in parallel, okay, with load. So one of such devices can be capacitor. Okay, so the capacitor draws a leading current and partly or completely neutralizes the lagging reactive component of load current. So this raises the power factor of the load. So see, the power factor improvement components are static capacitor, synchronous condenser, phase advancer. Okay, so normally the power factor of the whole load on a large generating station is in the region of 0.8 to 0.9. So however, sometimes it is lower, and in these cases it is desired to improve the power factor. Okay, and this to improve the power factor we can use static capacitor, synchronous condenser, phase advancer, etc. Okay, so what is this static capacitor? See, power factor can be improved by connecting capacitor in parallel with the equipment operating at lagging power factor. Okay. So the capacitor known as static capacitor and it draws a leading current and partly or completely neutralizes the lagging reactive component of load current. Okay. So this raises the power factor of the load. Okay. So here see, this is a three-phase load connected over here. So here static capacitors are connected in parallel with this load. Here also, this is also a three-phase load. Here also a static capacitor connected in parallel with the load. These static capacitors can be connected in delta form. This is the delta form, or in star form. So you just remember these connection. Okay. So what is the advantages of using static capacitor? Low losses, it require little maintenance. Okay, there is due to what there is no rotating part, that's why it require little maintenance. Then it can be easily installed. Okay, as because it is light and require no foundation. Okay, it can work under ordinary atmospheric condition. Okay, so disadvantages are they have short service life ranging from 8 to 10 years. Okay, that means after using 8 to 10 years we need to replace them. Okay, so they are easily damaged if the voltage exceeds a certain or rated value. So once the capacitors are damaged, their repair is uneconomical. That means we must have to replace it. Okay, so the next equipment is the synchronous condenser. So this is the synchronous condenser connected in parallel with this three-phase load. So a synchronous motor takes a leading current when overexcited. Okay, and therefore behaves as a capacitor. So an overexcited synchronous motor running on no load is known as synchronous condenser. So when such a machine is connected in parallel with the supply, it takes a leading current which partly neutralizes the lagging reactive component of the load. So hence the power factor is improved. Okay. So this is the connection of three-phase synchronous motor with the three-phase load. Okay. So these are its advantages and disadvantages. Advantages are, by varying the field excitation, the magnitude of current drawn by the motor can be changed by any amount, and this helps in control of power factor. So the motor winding have high thermal stability to short circuit current, and the fault can be removed easily. Okay, and disadvantages are, there are losses in the motor, maintenance cost is high, production produces noise. Okay, so synchronous motor has no self-starting torque, therefore auxiliary equipment required, okay, to provide starting torque. And except in sizes above 500 kVA, the cost is greater than the static capacitor of the same rating. Okay, so these are the disadvantages. And the next equipment is the phase advancer. Phase advancer is also one equipment. It is used to improve the power factor. Okay, of induction motor. So the low power factor of an induction motor is due to the fact that its stator winding draws exciting current which lags behind the supply voltage by 90 degree. So if exciting ampere turns can be provided from some other AC sources, the stator winding will relieved of exciting current and the power factor of the motor can be improved. Okay, so for this phase advancer is used. This is simply an AC exciter. Okay, so the next part is the load curve. Okay, so before going to this economic aspect part, so let's just recall what you studied till now, that what is power factor, what are the causes of low power factor, what are the effect of low power factor, and how to improve the low power factor. Okay, so let's start with the economic aspect of the power system. So in this economic aspect section we need to know certain terms. Okay, you need to learn certain terms, and by studied those terms, or by studied those parameter, how we control the economic aspect of power system, that we studied over here. So first term is the load curve. So this curve showing the variation of load. Okay, see in this area the variation of load is showing over here. So this showing the variation of load on power station with respect to time is known as load curve. So see, this is the load part, and this is the time part. Okay, this is the midnight, this is moon. Okay, sorry, midnight, this is the afternoon, and then again night. Okay, so this completes 124 hour. This is the time axis, this is the load axis. So in the midnight the load is 2 megawatt, but in the morning 6 to 8 the load is 4 megawatt. Again in the afternoon the load is little bit down, that is nearer to 2 megawatt. And again in the evening time, see it is around 6 p.m. the load is high, greater. Okay, here the 6 megawatt load. And again in the night, in the midnight the load is below 2 megawatt. So how the load changes with respect to time, that is shown in this curve. Okay, so the daily load curve shows the variation of load on the power station during different hours of the day. Daily means it covers for one day. So the area under the daily load curve gives the number of units generated in a day. Okay, so units generated per day is equal to area under a daily load curve. This area gives us area in kilowatt hours. See, if I want to find the area, so this is the my total area. This range is this is the area. Okay, it is approximately looks like one rectangle. Okay, so here this is the load in megawatt and this is the hour. So if I want to find out the area, what this length into breadth, that means time into megawatt, so that is kilowatt hour or megawatt hour. And during this area, because this load curve maximum goes up to this range and minimum range is this, so this forms the area. So like this we calculate the area. So from by calculating the area we can find out the units generated per day. So units generated per day is equal to area in kilowatt hour under daily load curve. Similarly, the highest point on the daily load curve represents the maximum demand. Okay, so in this load curve this is the highest point. So here this represents maximum demand on the station on that particular day. So the area under daily load curve divided by the total number of hours gives us average load on the station in a day. Okay, so this here we studied whatever calculation, it is per day basis. Okay, because here our total time is 24 hours. So these are for one day. So the area under daily load curve, when we divide the area under daily load curve with total number of hour, then it gives average load. Okay, so now you understood about the maximum demand and average load. So the formula for average load is equal to area in kilowatt hour area in kilowatt hour under daily load curve divided by 24 hour. This is the average load. So the ratio of area under the load curve to the total area of rectangle in which it is contained gives the load factor. So the load factor formula is the average load. Okay, so because here the ratio of area under the load curve to the total area of the rectangle, so the total area covered with the maximum demand, so average load divided by maximum demand. So average load into 24 by maximum demand into 24, this gives you area in kilowatt hour under daily load curve. Then the denominator part is the total area of rectangle in which the load curve is contained. This is a formula for load factor. The next term is the demand factor. So it is the ratio of maximum demand on the power station to its connected load. Okay, so how we calculate this demand factor? See, normally the demand factor is usually less than 1. Okay, it is expected because maximum demand on the power station is generally less than the connected load. Okay, so if the maximum demand on the power station is 80 megawatt and the connected load is 100 megawatt, so the demand factor is 80 by 100, that is 0.8. so how you know the demand factor? See, maximum demand, if this point is the maximum demand, the connected load is throughout this, the whole curve represent the connected load. Okay, so obviously connected load value is greater than maximum demand. So if we take the ratio of maximum demand and connected load, we find out demand factor, and it is usually less than 1. Then maximum demand, so it is the greatest demand of the load on the power station during a given period. Okay, so in this load curve, this is the maximum demand of a particular day, because here it is a 24-hour load curve. So in this 24-hour, this here the load curve is higher, greater, so this represents maximum demand. So maximum demand, you understood, the greatest demand of load on the power station during a given period is the maximum demand. Then the load factor. Load factor, I told you, average load divided by maximum demand. This is the formula for load factor. Okay, so if a plant is in operation for T hours, then load factor is equal to average load into T divided by maximum demand into T. So this gives units generated in T hours and this maximum demand into T hours. So this is the formula for load factor. Then the diversity factor. So the ratio of sum of individual maximum demands to maximum demand on power station is known as diversity factor. So see, sum of individual maximum demands divided by maximum demand on a power system. So this ratio gives diversity factor. Then plant's capacity factor. So what do you mean by plant capacity factor? It is the ratio of actual energy produced to the maximum possible energy that could have been produced during a given period. So plant capacity factor is equal to actual energy produced divided by maximum energy that could have been produced. So average demand into T divided by plant capacity into T. So this represents actually plant capacity. Okay, so average demand by plant capacity is the formula for plant capacity factor. Similarly, connected load, so it is the sum of continuous rating of all equipments connected to a supply system. So a power system supplies load to thousands of consumers. Okay, so each consumer has certain equipment installed in his house or premises. So the sum of continuous rating of all the equipment in the consumer's premises is the connected load of the consumer. Okay, so if consumer has connection of 500 watt lamp and a power point of 500 watt, then the connected load of the consumer is 5 into 100 plus 500, that is the 1000 watt. So the sum of connected load of all the consumer is connected load to the power station. Okay, so this 1000 watt is the connected load. That means the sum of continuous rating of all the equipments connected to the supply is the connected load. So then the next part is the base load and peak load on a power station. So what do you mean by base load and peak load? So the changing of load on the power station makes its load curve variable. Okay, so load on the power station varies from time to time, obviously. So how you decide which one is peak load, which one is base load? Okay, see, base load means the unvarying load which occurs almost whole day on a station is the base load, and peak load means the various peak demands of load over and above the base load of the station is known as peak load. Okay, so in this, see in this graph, this is the load in megawatt, this is the time. So here this portion represent the base load, because this is the unvarying portion of the loads. That means per day you have definitely get this amount of load, and this represents peak load because this is variable in nature. Okay, this is not fixed. At what time you get peak load, that is not fixed. So that's why these two represents peak load and this represents base load. Okay, so see, these are the some problems mentioned over here. Just remember all the formula and go through these problems, practice these problems by going through these examples. Okay, so just go through this. Just it is very simple. Okay, just remember all the formula, put all the formula, and you can calculate easily. Okay, so here there is the calculation of demand factor, load factor, and annual load factor. Okay, calculation of plant capacity. So these are all the calculation portion. Just go through these problems, practice it, remember all the formulas. Okay, so this is all about your module 8. Okay, that is the economic aspect. Okay, so just go through this video thoroughly and understand all these things under this chapter 8. So module 8 is completed. Okay, so thank you all.